Hi class, today we will learn on chapter 1 on the topic of national policies of biological diversity. So in this chapter, we will need to define what is biological diversity and the policy that related to it, the rich diversity of Malaysian flora and fauna, the biodiversity crisis that we face nowadays, and also what are the conservation efforts to maintain our biodiversity. So, biodiversity is referred to the variability among living organisms on Earth. It comes from all sources, including terrestrial, marine, and other aquatic ecosystems, and also ecological complexes. And it is within the diversity also referred to the biology within the species itself, between the other species, and also of the ecosystem. And our country, Malaysia, is rich with the diversity of the flora and fauna. There are estimated around 15,000 species of vascular plants in Malaysia, and our country faunal communities include 307 known species of mammals, and 30 of it are endemic to Malaysia. Also, with our species of birds, amphibians, reptiles, and also the freshwater, the total of it make up 1,951 species of freshwater and marine fishes. So, due to our mega biodiversity in Malaysia, we have our own national policy that being start formulated on 1998. So now the newest one is National Policy on Biodiversity, uh, which the objective is to conserve the Malaysia biological diversity and also to ensure that its component, all the biodiversity component are utilized in a sustainable manner for the continued progress and also socio-economic development of the nation. So in National Policy of Biodiversity, there are 5 principles that we are stand for. The first principle is referred to the heritage, in which the biodiversity is a national heritage that must be sustained, managed, and wisely utilized today to conserve for our future generations. And the second principle is that precautionary, in which that the lack of full scientific certainty should not be used as the reason to postpone or to minimize threats of significant loss of biodiversity. And the third principle is that we have to share the responsibility, in which it is not the conservation responsibility is not on a certain sector only, but it is the responsibility of all sectors of society. And the fourth principle is participatory, in which the planning and management of biodiversity must be carried out in a participatory manner. And last but not least is a good government of the diversity in Malaysia. Good government, including accountability and transparency in decision making, is crucial to biodiversity conservation. And based on these 5 principles, there are 5 goals of national policy biodiversity that we need to achieve. The first goal is that to empower and harness the commitment of all stakeholders to conserve the biodiversity by creating the awareness across all segments of our society, and we nurture the participations among the children and the youth also. And the second goal that we need to achieve is that significantly to reduce, significantly the direct and also indirect pressure on biodiversity. How? By integrate the biodiversity conservation into sectoral policy and also the plan. The plan. And then we need also to safeguard all of the ecosystems, the species, and also the genetic diversity, in which that by 2025, at least 20% of terrestrial areas and inland waters and 10% of coastal and marine areas are being conserved. The fourth goal is that we want to ensure that the benefits from the utilizations of biodiversity is accrue equitable to all, institutionalizing a national regulatory framework by which we need to enhance the capacity and also the awareness of the society. And last is that we need to improve. Our goal is to improve the capacity, our knowledge, and our skill of all the stakeholders to conserve the biodiversity. By strengthening the capacity of biodiversity related agency, it will help to enhance the quality and also the quantity of research on Malaysia diversity, and we need also to establish the comprehensive database and also monitoring all the program that being organized. So throughout our history, there have been 5 to 6 major of extinction events, and this extinction event is concerned on the sudden disappearance of many species, and the most infamous event was the extinctions of the dinosaur, which is about 65 million years ago. As you can see in the time frame over here, this is the starting of the extinction event that occur on the earth. And the figure show here, this is the skeletons of giant ground sloths, in which it has been disappeared along with the mammoths, mastodons, and many other large animals at the end of Pleistocene epoch. And the sixth extinction is actually referring to the direct result of one species that substantially modifying the planet at the expense of the other 11 million or so species. The one species that caused the extinctions of other species is actually referred to as a human, in which that at the current rate of habitat destruction is estimated that within the next 100 years or so, about half of the world existing species may be extinct. So the rate of species loss during the sixth extinction is estimated to be somewhere between 100 and 1,000 times greater during any previous extinction event that have been occurred, including the extinction events of the dinosaur. And one of the earlier and popular known example of extinction in this period, in human period, is that the dodo bird. And this figure show the skeletons of the dodo bird, in which that the dodo bird live in the forest of the Mauritius. Mauritius is actually the island in the Indian Ocean, but this species has became extinct around the year of 1662. And dodo bird was hunted for its meat by the sailor, as it was an easy prey because this dodo bird do not evolve with human. Therefore, usually the dodo bird will approach the human without any fear. And also, in addition, during that time, the sailor brought pigs, rats, and also dogs to the island. Thus, it also killed the dodo youngs and also dodo bird eggs. And this figure here, this figure here show the skeleton of stellar sea cows, which became extinct in year of 1768. As you can see, the sea cow here was first discovered by Europeans in 1741, and it was hunted for the meat and also for the oil. Another this figure here on the right show the other extinct species that was hunted and suffer from habitat loss through the clearing of the forest for the mainland, such as you can see the mammoths, some species of tigers, zebras, and so on. And some also are the victims of hunting and overfishing, such as Caribbean monk seal and also Japanese sea lion. So due to this extinction and due to the biodiversity crisis that we face nowadays, there is some conservation efforts that have been done in which that we it goals is to conserve the particular species or group of animals, to conserve the entire habitat also, such as the Amazon rainforest, and also to conserve the natural resulting resources by setting aside national parks and also wildlife preservation. So biodiversity conservation is divided into two types. We have in situ conservation and also ex situ conservation. So what is in situ and ex situ conservation? In situ conservation is referred to the on-site conservation or the conservations of the genetic resources in its natural populations of plants, such as forest genetic resources in natural populations of tree species. So it is the process of protecting an endangered plant in its natural habitat, either by protecting the habitat itself or you cleaning up the habitat or by defending the species from the predator. And it is applied to the conservation of agriculture biodiversity in agro ecosystem by farmer, especially those that using the unconventional farming practice. Meanwhile, ex situ conservation is referred to the off-site conservation. It is the process of protecting an endangered species of plant and also animals outside its habitat, natural habitat such as zoo. Okay, for example, we remove by removing the parts of the population from a threatened habitat and we place it in a new location, which may be wild or within the care of the human's hand. Okay. However, both of in situ conservation and ex situ conservation have its own advantages and disadvantages. For in situ conservation, the advantages is that the species will have all the resources that it is adapted to, and the species will continue to evolve in their own environment. Therefore, they will having more space. This space will later will lead to the bigger breeding of the populations, and it can be kept, and it is cheaper to keep an organism in its natural habitat because you don't need a budget to protect them or to provide them food. Meanwhile, the advantages of ex situ conservation or off-site conservations are that the organism is assured of food, we give them shelter, security, and hence they can live a longer lifespan and breathing activity. Therefore, this conservation will increase the possibility of having more number of the offspring. Okay, and under human care and secure condition, chances of survival will increase too, and it's also provide the possibility of using genetic techniques to improve the concerned species. Okay, and the captive breeding can provide animal for possible reintroduction to the wild. We can send them back to the wild at a later stage or for supplementing current population with the new stock. Okay. However, bear in mind both of ex situ and also in situ conservation has its own disadvantages. For in situ conservation, um, in some cases, the difficulties are so great that it's unlikely that in situ conservation will be successful. Okay, this is because that little suitable habitat left to maintain a viable populations of the endangered species, and sometimes the habitat itself is such a temporary habitat. In the case of Sammitha horn oryx, as you can see in the figure here, and unfortunately, some cases also it may be permanent. For example, the tiger, as you can see in the figure here, may be impossible to conserve in situ as a result of the hunting from humans, by the human activity, and also by the habitat loss. It also mostly caused by the human activities such as the deforestation and forest burning and fire. And for disadvantages of ex-situ conservation is that only a small number of individuals can be cared for due to the budget constraint, and it also can be difficult and expensive to create and maintain a suitable environment for the breeding. So we can say that ex situ conservation is less successful than the in situ conservation because some species may do not breed successfully in captivity because of the stress environment, and also they cannot adapt to their new environment that they are not used for they are not used to it. So in conclusion, we won't have a society if we destroy the environment because the biological diversity is important for our lives, so that we need to conserve and preserve them for our future generations. I think that's all for today, class. Thank you.